Hey guys, I hope you are having a good week. We are almost finished with holes, which is super exciting. Although it's taken us a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Um, Nothing in the world right now is happening like we thought, so why not this too? We are going to go ahead and start on chapter 48 today. You guys read 47 on Monday, and you found out that the treasure, the suitcase that Stanley and Zero had found actually has Stanley's name on it, which is super exciting for Stanley, and super not exciting for the warden, because she is having a really hard time now convincing everyone that the treasure is actually hers. So, we are ready for chapter 48. They slowly walked back to camp. The tall man was the Texas Attorney General and the chief law enforcement officer for the state. Stanley's lawyer was named Ms. Marengo. Stanley held the suitcase. He was so tired he couldn't think straight. He felt as if he was walking in a dream, not quite able to comprehend what was going on around him. They stood in front of the camp office. Mr. Sir went inside to get Stanley's belongings. The Attorney General told Mr. Pendancy to get the boys something to drink and eat. The warden seemed as dazed as Stanley. "You can't even read," she said to Zero. Zero said nothing. Ms. Marengo put a hand on Stanley's shoulder and told him to hang in there. He would be seeing his parents soon. She was shorter than Stanley, but somehow gave the appearance of being tall. Mr. Pendanski returned with 2 cartons of orange juice and 2 bagels. Stanley drank the juice, but he didn't feel like eating anything. "Wait," the warden explained. "I didn't say they stole the suitcase. It's his suitcase, obviously, but he put my things from the cabin inside it." "That isn't what you said earlier," said Ms. Marengo. "What's in the suitcase?" the warden asked Stanley. "Tell us, what's in it, then we'll open it and see." Stanley didn't know what to do. "Stanley, as your lawyer, I advise you not to open your suitcase," said Ms. Marengo. "He has to open," said the warden. "I have the right to check the personal property of any of my detainees. How do you know there aren't drugs or weapons in there? He stole a car, too. I got witnesses." She was nearly hysterical. "He is no longer under your jurisdiction," said Stanley's lawyer. "He has not been officially released," said the warden. "Open the suitcase, Stanley." "Do not open it," said Stanley's lawyer. Stanley did nothing. Mr. Sir returned from the office with Stanley's backpack and clothes. The Attorney General handed Ms. Marengo a sheet of paper. "You're free to go," she said to Stanley. "I know you're anxious to get out of here, so you just keep the orange suit as a souvenir. Or burn it, whatever you want. Good luck, Stanley." He reached out his hand to shake, but Ms. Marengo hurried Stanley away. "Come on, Stanley," she said. "We have a lot to talk about." Stanley stopped and looked at Zero. He couldn't just leave him there. Zero gave him a thumbs up. "I can't leave Hector," Stanley said. "I suggest we go," said the lawyer with a sense of urgency in her voice. "I'll be okay," said Zero. His eyes shifted towards Mr. Pendanski on one side of him, then to Warden and Mr. Sir on the other. "There's nothing I can do for your friend," said Ms. Marengo. "You are released pursuant in the order from a judge." "They'll kill him," said Stanley. "Your friend's not in danger," said the Attorney General. "There's going to be an investigation into everything that's happened here. For the present, I'm taking charge of the camp." "Come on, Stanley," said his lawyer. "Your parents are waiting." Stanley stayed where he was. His lawyer sighed. "May I have a look at Hector's file?" she asked. "Certainly," said the Attorney General. "Ms. Walker, go get Hector's file." She looked at him blankly. "Well?" Remember, they destroyed all of Zero's files because they thought no one would come looking for him. Mr. Warden turned to Mr. Pendanski. "Bring me Hector Zeroni's files." He stared at her. "Get it," she ordered. Mr. Pendanski went into the office. He returned a few minutes later and announced the file was apparently misplaced. The Attorney General was outraged. "What kind of camp are you running here, Ms. Walker?" The warden said nothing. She stared at the suitcase. The Attorney General assured Stanley's lawyer that he would get the records. "Excuse me while I call my office." He turned back to the warden. "I assume your phone works?" He walked into the camp office, slamming the door behind him. A little while later, he reappeared and told the warden he wanted to talk to her. She cursed and went inside. Stanley gave Zero a thumbs up. "Caveman, is that you?" He turned to see Armpit and Squid coming out of the rec room. Squid shouted back into the rec room, "Caveman, Zero are out here." Soon all the boys from Camp D were gathered around him and Zero. "Good to see you, man," Armpit said, shaking his hand. "I thought you were buzzard food." Stanley is being released today, said Mr. Pendanski. Way to go, said Magnet, hitting him on the shoulder. And you didn't even have to step on a rattlesnake, said Squid. Even Zigzag shook Stanley's hand. Sorry about, It's cool, said Stanley. We had to lift the truck clear out of the hole, Zigzag told him. It took everyone in C, D, and E. We just picked it right up. It was really cool, said Twitch. X-Ray was the only one who didn't come over. Stanley saw him hang back behind the others a moment, then returned to the rec room. Guess what? Said Magnet, glancing at Mr. Pendanski. Mom says we don't have to dig any more holes. That's great, Stanley says. You do me a favor? Asked Squid. I guess, Stanley agreed, somewhat hesitantly. I want you to... He turned to Ms. Marengo. Hey, lady, you got a pen and paper I can borrow? She gave it to him, and Squid wrote down a phone number, which he gave to Stanley. Call my mom for me, okay? Tell her I said I was sorry. Tell her Alan said he was sorry. Stanley promised he would. Now you be careful out in the real world, said Armpit. Not everybody is as nice as us. Stanley smiled. The boys departed when the warden came out of the office. The Attorney General was right behind her. My office is having difficulty locating Hector Zeroni's records, the Attorney General said. So you have no claims of authority over him? Asked Miss Marengo. I didn't say that. He's in the computer. We just can't access his records. It's like they've fallen through a hole in the cyberspace. A hole in cyberspace, Miss Marengo repeated. How interesting. When is his release date? I don't know. How long has he been here? Like I said, we can't. So what are you planning to do with him? Keep him confined indefinitely without justification while you are crawling through the black holes in cyberspace? The Attorney General stared at her. He was obviously incarcerated for a reason. Oh, and what reason was that? The Attorney General said nothing. Stanley's lawyer took hold of Zero's hand. Come on, Hector, you're coming with us. Chapter 49. There never used to be yellow-spotted lizards in the town of Green Lake. They didn't come to the area until after the lake had dried up. But the town folks had heard about the red-eyed monsters living in the desert hills. One afternoon, Sam the Onion Man and his donkey, Mary Lou, was returning to his boat, which was anchored just a little offshore. It was late in November, and the peach trees had almost lost their leaves. Sam, someone called. He turned around to see three men running after him, waving their hats. He waited. Afternoon, Walter, Bo, Jesse, he greeted them as they walked up, catching their breath. Glad we caught you, said Bo. We're going rattlesnake hunting in the morning. You want to get some of your lizard juice, said Walter. I ain't afraid of no rattlesnake, said Jesse, but I didn't want to come here across one of them red-eyed monsters. I seen one once, and that was enough. I knew about the red eyes, of course, but I haven't heard about big black teeth. And it's the white tongues that get me, said Bo. Sam gave each man 2 bottles of pure onion juice. He told them to drink 1 bottle before going to bed that night, and then half a bottle in the morning, then half a bottle around lunchtime. You sure this stuff works? Asked Walter. I tell you what, said Stan, if it doesn't, you come back here next week and I'll give you your money back. Walter looked around unsure, but Bo and Jesse laughed. Then Sam laughed too. Even Mary Lou let out a rare hee-haw. See, if it doesn't work, then they'd be dead, and then they wouldn't come back. Just remember, Sam told the men before they left, it's very important you drink a bottle tonight. You gotta get it in your bloodstream. The lizards don't like onion blood. Stanley and Zero sat in the back seat of Ms. Marengo's BMW. The suitcase lay between them. It was locked, and they decided to let Stanley's father try to open it in his workshop. You don't know what's in it, do you? She asked. No, said Stanley. I didn't think so. The air conditioning was on, and they drove with the windows open as well because, no offense, but you boys really smell bad. Ms. Marengo explained that she was a patent attorney. I'm helping your father with this new product he's invented. He happened to mention your situation, so I did a little investigating. Lied Livingston's sneakers were stolen sometime before 3:15. I found a young man, Derek Doone, who said that at 3:20 you were in the bathroom fishing your notebook out of the toilet. 2 girls remember seeing you coming out of the boys' restroom carrying a wet notebook. Remember, Derek Doone is the bully that always messed with Stanley, and he's actually the one that, got him out. Stanley felt his ears redden. Even after everything he had been through, the memory still caused him to feel shame. So you couldn't have stolen them, said Ms. Marengo. He didn't. I did, said Zero. You did what? asked Ms. Marengo. I stole the sneakers. The lawyer turned around while driving and looked at him. I didn't hear that, she said, and I advise you to make sure I don't hear it again. What did my father invent? Stanley asked. Did he find a way to recycle sneakers? No, he's still working on that, exclaimed Ms. Marengo, but he invented a product that eliminates the foot odor. Here, I got a sample in my briefcase. I wish I had more. You two could bathe in it. She opened her briefcase with one hand and passed a small bottle back to Stanley. It had a fresh and somewhat spicy smell. He handed it to Zero. What's it called? Stanley asked. He hasn't come up with a name yet, said Ms. Marengo. It smells familiar, said Zero. Peaches, right? asked Ms. Marengo. That's what everyone says. A short while later, both boys fell asleep. Behind them, the sky had turned dark, and for the first time in over 100 years, a drop of rain fell onto the empty lake. Okay, we are ready for part 3. We will finish that up on Friday. So go ahead and do the activity listed below, and Friday we will finish up the book. I can't believe we're at this point. We're going to finish the book. It's sad and yet exciting at the same time. So I will see you this way anyway on Friday, and I hope you have a great day. Email me or message me if you have any questions. Bye.